YouTube, Lawnboys Post 1975, and welcome to my Christmas message. My Christmas message for 2018. I do these every year. It's hard to believe I've been doing these for 5 years. Hell, I started doing these. Well, my channel will be 8 in February, so I started doing these 3 years into my channel, and it was nothing to do with having a YouTube channel. I mean, if you watch these messages, particularly this one will make sense a little bit because of other videos I do, but you know, not just because I love Christmas, but I've got a massive amount of nostalgia just for moments of my life, whether it's comics, toys, holidays, video games and things like that. And I thought, I've touched upon it in other Christmas messages and stuff like that, but I thought because it's been a series of videos I've been doing this year that have gone down really well, and I love doing, I would do nostalgic memories of Christmas. This is not going to be scripted. I've made no notes. I've not even written down bullet points. I'm sure Armageddon it? Great song by Def Leppard. I'm sure I'll forget stuff. But for Christmas, I don't know, it just seems only sort of natural to just reel it off the top of your head. But as I've said before, I absolutely love Christmas. That's, you know, I don't think we have to go into that in this video. But there's something I have. I'll tell you something else I actually have is cramp in my foot right now. That's not amazing stuff. But I have a brilliant memory. Touch wood, probably shouldn't have said that. By the way, I'm wearing my Back to the Future Christmas shirt, jumper, hoodie. Yeah. Brilliant memory. And by that, I mean it goes back quite a long way. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that can remember, will say, I can remember when I was lying in my cot. No, I can't remember that far back because I don't think you can. But I do remember some very early Christmases. And I want to just talk about some Christmas memories and some Christmas presents. And yes, I know it's not about presents, but, you know, in my defence, in a lot of people's defence, my age, Christmas was made by our presents. You know, not to say I didn't enjoy the family moments and all that, because I do. That's all part and part of Christmas, you know, and the Christmas and the build-up and the TV and stuff like that. But when you're a kid, it's Christmas presents, isn't it? And that whole be good, you know, I wouldn't say emotional blackmail, but be good or Santa won't, you know, deliver it to you. Now, I do remember something naughty. If you have children or you're very young, you might not want to, I'll put a time link down below when I get to something involving Santa. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, we're all adults here, but you never know, you never know. But there was a Christmas when we were on the naughty step. But anyway, yeah, I have memories going back really far, and I do remember a very early Christmas, and I did try and find pictures of this because it was one of the, now you might be able to work out the year if you're from my neck of the woods and my age, but it was a very god-awful winter, lots and lots of snow, and I mean even by England standards, lots of snow, and particularly back then, because I want to say this would have been like 1979, 78, 79, we wouldn't have even had central heating. And I do remember being, you know, just obsessed with motorbikes, absolutely obsessed with motorbikes, even though I was a kid. We used to watch Happy Days, and I used to look at it and just go, Fonzie, motorbike, because I couldn't say motorbike. So that year, my parents got me a trike. And you got to remember, Christmas must have been expensive for my parents, because I have a twin brother and I have an older brother. But yeah, got me a trike. When I say trike, it had a plastic body with a little silver engine on it, and it had pedals on the front wheel, and two plastic wheels at the back. But it had that whole, think the bike from Terminator 2, it had that whole plastic thing over the front of the handlebars with a big police sticker across the front, and a light inside a blue cup on the front that you could turn on, and it would flash on and off, on and off. And I remember wanting that, just really wanting that. This is what I mean, like, this is probably my earliest Christmas memory, just really wanting that bike. And then when I got it, I remember our mum told us that Santa couldn't fit it down the chimney. It wouldn't fit down the chimney. So Santa bought it for us, but he dropped it off. And so we had to drive to British home stores to pick up the trike that Santa bought for me. And I just remember, it's weird, but this is something else, you know, I have to quickly say, but can you, it was murder trying to sleep back then as a kid. The excitement for the next day was just absolutely, it was killer. You didn't want to go to bed, but you went to bed, but then you couldn't sleep, but then you would get up stupidly early. And I kind of missed that, because as an adult, I remember last year when we all had to like convene at my brother's house for Christmas dinner, like all, you know, extended branches of the family, and I just remember thinking, oh, do I have to get up at 10 o'clock? Christmas Day is one day of the year I've surely earned to lie in. But But, you know, that sensation as a kid, I still, you know, like, you didn't enjoy it at the time, but it's certainly, looking back upon it and reminiscing about it, it made Christmas, that anticipation, that killer excitement. But I remember that bike the next day. That bike was all I could think about. The next day came, I was shitting my pants with excitement, and there's a picture of this somewhere with me on it crying with a proper motorbike helmet from the 70s, so I had no face guard, that my dad found in the garage to stick on my head so I could pretend I was a real policeman. And I remember going outside and put it on the front lawn and trying to ride it, and I couldn't because the wheel just went like that in the snow, and then crying. Don't get me wrong, it's still an amazing present, and you know, as soon as your parents bring you in and warm you up and stuff like that, and then riding around the house. But I can always remember that being in the front garden, in the cold, wrapped up, being tiny, in snow that deep. Let's be honest, it was never going to happen unless my parents were setting me up for an amazing picture to put in their album. But I can always, that's like my earliest Christmas memory. It really was. And something else I want to talk about, this would be primary school, but we start, and I know this is everywhere, this is the modern world with the build up to Christmas. Obviously capitalism's kicked in. I mean, we thought it was like that bad back then, but now it's ridiculous. It kicks in at the end of October. I mean, this year, the Christmas aisle in the supermarket was opposite the Halloween aisle. But when I was a kid, when I was a lad, Christmas didn't start until you broke up from school. So literally, if you were lucky, very lucky, because often you would break up on the 23rd of December, this is primary school, Christmas, you know, you would break up on the 22nd if you were lucky, and then Christmas would start. And you'd have a copy of the Radio Times and the TV Times, because the Radio Times covered ITV back then, and the TV Times covered BBC One. So Radio Times covered ITV Channel 4. But then when I was really young, there was no Channel 4. So in fact, the Radio Times was a rip-off. They later got combined, but that was, Christmas started. You knew it was coming. You made your lists for Santa and stuff like that. You wrote your letters. To be fair, I never wrote a letter. And to be fair, I never went to see a department store, Santa Claus. Not because I felt I was deprived or anything like that. I just... it just never happened. In fact, it didn't happen until 2005 in Montreal when I was living in Canada. And me and my mate in the office, who was also from England, and we were both in our 30s at this point, we were just like, this is something we've never done. We've never done it. And it's on our tick list. So we went to the Bell Centre. Not the Bell Centre, that's a hockey centre. I can't think of the store, the big department store. That was the big Canadian department store that was next to the office. Oh, this is going to drive me nuts, but I'm not going to, ponder on it. And we both sat on this French-Canadian Santa Claus knee to have our picture taken, which I couldn't find for this. And I think he was just looking at us going, oh, l'English, quel buffoon, thinking we were just idiots. But it was on my checklist because I never did it as a kid. But anyway, I'm waffling, but that's me. That's when Christmas started. We wrote our letters to Santa. That's what I was getting at. I never did the department store, but we wrote our letters to Santa. So all that was done and dusted, possibly mid-November. But Christmas wasn't this huge behemoth of a build-up like it is now. It literally started at primary school when you broke up. You'd have your 2 TV Time magazines, Radio Times, TV Times, and you sit there with chunky markers. And I can't be the only one who used to do this. And then go for it, because it was special, because all the TV companies pulled out the big guns, didn't they? They'd have a big movie Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, then they'd have the specials of their TV shows, and we'd sit there and circle everything we wanted to watch, and it just, to make sure we didn't miss anything, it just made Christmas that much more special. And the funny thing is, when we did, write our letters before that was one thing we did do actually, like in November, was Christmas for what you wanted for you was basically designated to you by what was advertised on TV, toy adverts, and the department catalogues, or the stuff like Littlewoods and stuff like that would come in the post, and the whole back eighth of it would be toy adverts, boys and girls adverts, and a limited set of electronics, which was really rubbish back then. But that was where you were. If there were no department store, catalogue department stores, you wouldn't really know how to make your list for Santa. But in my case, your list was like a one moderately big thing, but I say that my parents, had to split 3 ways, and then a stocking. Something else I miss, as an adult, I miss is stockings. But yeah, those magazines were what were what you decided your Christmas presents from. And then you used to do, when you picked it all and stuff like that. We used to do this game. We used to turn the page, and everyone had to put their finger on something that they wanted quicker than anyone else could. But yeah, but another, and this would have been not long after that, because obviously Star Wars and all the main Star Wars toys I had from when I was a kid were the ones that were boxed for Empire Strikes Back. And that includes the figures. But this is a Christmas I remember amazingly well, because the room I shared with my twin brother, we had bunk beds. And so my stocking would be on the top corner post, and his would be on the bottom corner post. And then we'd have 2 plastic Santa sacks that I still have, where I wrote David on it, but my second D was backwards, because I couldn't write my second D backwards, even though I could write my first D forwards. Never mind, you know what I mean. And to this day, here's the spoiler alert, I never worked out how my parents crept into the room to put the presents in. I mean Santa, but how my, I guess as kids you sleep like just out. But we had these big plastic sacks. How did they? It can't have been, it must have taken them a while, unless they took the sacks out, creeping out, put the presents in, crept back in, stuck it down. But I've always thought, how, I mean, I'm a light sleeper now, I guess I wasn't when I was a kid, but how did you do this with 2 kids in the room, and then even then stuff the stuff into their stockings on the bedpost? I've never understood that. But yeah, that was a great memory, but it was those stockings that really, really made Christmas. And yes, we had nuts in them, we had chocolate coins in them, and we had satsumas or nectarines in them, which kids today would probably laugh at, but do you know what? I loved it. I still love it. If I ever get one from a friend or something, because occasionally your friends will make you stuff like that, they go nostalgic and put nuts, chocolate coins, satsumas in it. They don't put a lump of coal in it because, well, we got smokeless fire, so it's kind of useless. What am I going to do with it? But that one year, and it was because even though Star Wars was a big thing, and I got a few, I think that was the year I got an Empire Strikes Back Scout Walker, or maybe a Darth TIE Fighter. The reason I say that is I've got memories, but they all, when it comes to Star Wars, they kind of blur into one long one, because that Star Wars for me lasted over many Christmases, and for both my brothers. Between us, we had loads of stuff, AT-ST, AT-AT, Millennium Falcon, Snowspeeder, that was mine, Scout Walker, that was mine, Jabba the Hutt, that was mine, Rebel Transport, that was mine. That was amazing Christmas. But getting back to the stockings, this was brilliant, and my mum years later told us that this was, and what I mean was I had big ships for Christmas, but this was fantastic. The toy everyone wanted was Darth Vader, the figure, because he was the main bad guy, and he was just flying off the shelves, and particularly at Christmas. And so my mum had to queue outside, because the place to get all your toys back then was, it wasn't like a mail order store or stuff like that. Mail order, club catalogue was the word I was looking for, department store. It was places like British Home Stores. That was where we got Transformers and stuff like that, and Star Wars. But my mum heard that they said they had a batch of Darth Vaders, and she went out and she queued hours before the store opened, just because my older brother didn't want it for some reason. He just wanted Han Solo. But me and my twin wanted Darth Vader. Just absolutely wanted Darth Vader. And so that, believe it or not, over these big, vehicles and stuff like that, that made Christmas, for me, was I got Darth Vader. Although, as I used to call him when I was a kid, Dark Vader, because I couldn't pronounce Darth. But it was stuffed in the stocking. Now, as an adult, I'd be like, oh, no, because even if I did open it years later, I would have kept the back cover. But no, as a kid, it was just amazing that it stuck my hand in there. It was this thing with an elastic band around it to keep it circular and in the stocking. And I just remember sticking my hand in it and just going, I don't know what it is. Oh, it's plastic and so, oh, please be Darth Vader, please be Darth Vader, please be Darth Vader. Pulled it out. It was Darth Vader. I mean, people of my generation, Star Wars was, it always amazed me when it came back around in the mid-90s, but Star Wars was a massive part of Christmas for so many people, and also because Star Wars, the movies were big Christmas movies, and, when I remember when Empire Strikes Back was first screened, and that was a big deal, and I say this every year when I talk about Christmas, that we made my poor mum drive to our auntie's house, which was probably about 8-9 miles away, so she could record Empire Strikes Back, because they're on different channels, but at the same time, Empire Strikes Back, and we could record Back to Future, because I love Back to Future, but I need to have Empire Strikes Back. But the one before that was really, really special, was Star Wars. Before it went out of vogue, in this country, I don't know what it's like anywhere else, it went out of vogue for a few years. Not to say people thought it was a rubbish movie, but it was kind of screened every year for Christmas from about 79, or maybe 1980, up to like 1984, and so it kind of went out of vogue, but then came back around. And then when the toys came back around in the 90s, to me it was weird. It was like full circle. This was something when I was a kid, and then as a very young adult, it's come back. Now it's just this massive behemoth thing, particularly because of Disney ruining it. But we won't get there because it's Christmas and I'm festive. That you could never imagine that it would go away. And I remember that was another Christmas, but I was probably about, I don't know, 14 or 15 here, and it was just I think it was 15, and we were playing the game on the SNES, and it was just like, you know what, we forgot what an amazing this movie is, and we haven't seen it in years, and we remember that it was always on at Christmas. It's not on at Christmas anymore, and you could buy home tapes now. So I asked for Christmas for the original-ish Fox release. Was it Fox release of Star Wars, where, you know, it was unremastered and everything like that. It had the original poster on the front, and I got that for 1 year at Christmas, and that rekindled my love for Christmas, because it was just like, I forgot this was such a big part. This is such a Christmas movie. Why are we not watching this every year at Christmas? So yeah, Star Wars was such a big part. And something else I've always loved as an adult, you can find them now, but as a kid they always made me really, really excited, was they changed the idents for all the channels on TV. So BBC One, ITV, particularly those two back in the day, and BBC Two obviously, those three. Because that was before, you know, Channel 4 kicked in, which would have been 1982 or 4, but yeah, they do something. So each year there are idents, you know, saying, you know, BBC One, now on BBC One, the 9 o'clock news, or now on BBC One, you know, Generation Game or something, or that sort of TV. The idents will be changed into something really Christmassy, with like little animated stop animation things, Christmas cars, snow scenes, and it just, that was something else. That did actually start at the start of November, which let you know that it was coming. So, you know, even though Christmas didn't really feel like it began until you left school, that was a really, really cool thing. Sometimes, like I said, I type them on YouTube and watch compilations of all the idents, you know, changing. They list them literally every year. They start from the 60s and stuff, which obviously is before my time. So I like to watch the ones from, you know, when I can remember them. But they also would lead into the promos, the Christmas promos, when they would show the movies, and the companies would fight and pay big money to get movies over the other channels. You know, to be fair, they both got a decent share of them themselves. And they would do these little idents, and then sometimes they would get actors like Richard Briers from the Good Life, rest in peace, and he would pretend to be Scrooge, and it would be bah humbug. But this year there's some excellent TV that might just warm my heart. And then they show you all the things, you know, on Boxing Day, on Christmas Day, you know, on Christmas Eve, I should have done that in the other order, I know, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, because that was still, to me as an adult it's not, but then it was still part of Christmas. It was, you know, yeah, it was, yeah, I love that. I mean, I wouldn't say Christmas was defined by TV, but I think it's safe to say for a lot of people from a specific age onwards and upwards, and it was certainly better back then. I think the oversaturation of TV channels and stuff like that has diminished Christmas from a viewing perspective. But what Christmas TV was a big deal. It's Christmas specials of your favourite TV shows, whether it was kids shows like Crackerjack and stuff like that, or, you know, but the fact that there would be talk shows, and you'd have stuff like Wogan, and then you'd have the Christmas tree in the background that would pop up at the start of December, and even, you know, the news, and obviously they still do it now, but even as a kid, not really liking the news and stuff, you would still notice that a Christmas tree had popped up. And, you know, it was just, yeah, I mean, I could reminisce and be nostalgic about this all the time, but it was just little things like that. You know, the minute your tree went up, and our tree, I thought it goes up late, you know, now. But our tree was really late when I was a kid. My parents would only put the tree up, I think it would be the day we broke up for school, or possibly the next day, the day after we broke up for school. Like I said at the start, something else that does make it really Christmassy. You only appreciate what a pain in the ass it is as an adult from a logistics perspective, because you didn't have to drive and do stuff back then and things like that. But there were a couple of Christmases where it snowed. There were a couple of Christmases it snowed, and I don't just mean the one when I'm sat on that little plastic bike crying because I'm spinning the wheel and not understanding why my motorbike isn't moving. But there were a couple of Christmases where it snowed, and that really, absolutely, really just, you know, just blew me away. And, you know, different locations. We used to alternate between our house and my grandparents' house. And that was brilliant as well, because, I don't know, it was just the excitement of a Christmas in a different location. And my grandparents always used to get us corgi toys, so I'd always used to get James Bond cars and Buck Rogers ships and stuff like that. And they wouldn't even wrap them. They'd stick two of them together like that, put a bow around it, and then hide it somewhere in the ground floor of their house. And then it would be after Christmas. We'd have to wait. It would be painful, but they were sticklers for being strict and teaching kids, to be patient and stuff like that. It would be, well, Christmas dinner, Christmas dessert is done. Now, go and find the present with your name on. That was awesome. So the swapping between Christmas, and obviously your grandparents came over to your parents' house when you were a kid, and then obviously you go over to theirs. It was just all the people just swapped locations. But that was another awesome thing, because that was really, really exciting. We opened our presents in the morning, and then we would know that when we went over there, it would be the special treats. From your grandparents, but it would be that excitement of not knowing where they were and making you look for it. That was something else I've absolutely always have fond memories of, and massive amount of nostalgia about. And I mean, I've talked about Transformers again. That was after I grew out of Star Wars and grew into Transformers. That was a big Christmas thing. I talk about that in my nostalgic memories of Transformers, so I won't really go into that. But yeah, that was an absolutely amazing thing. Again, that must have been incredibly, you don't appreciate as a kid, when you think it's Santa, and then when you spoilers, no, it's not, but you really don't appreciate the amount of effort that your parents put into making your Christmas as a kid. Sure, you love it, sure you have nostalgic memories of it, sure you say you love them at the time and hug them and kiss them, and thanks for making a brilliant Christmas, but you don't think, because you're a kid and you don't have the adult brain and logistics, and like I said with snow, thinking snow's brilliant, but for your parents they would probably be thinking, oh, not so much. But you just forget that the amount of work and effort and queuing up outside of stores and jingle all the way fighting parents well, we didn't do that because we're British. We queue up and we're all reserved. It's only Black Friday since it got imported into this country that we turned into animals. But, just like I said, you take it for granted. And particularly the sort of effort they would have to put in and the organisation and the shopping and things like that. Not just for all their relatives and their parents and stuff like that and cousins and things, but when there's three of you, it cannot have been easy. And that's why I thank my parents every year. It cannot have been easy having three boys to plan a Christmas for, but then it was Transformers, and then we got into computers, and we could have a couple of Spectrum games, because Spectrum games were expensive as a kid, and remote control cars. One year I got a remote control car, and it's the things that you forget, that your parents would have the kudos to buy batteries, because it's like, well, I can't just give them that, even if it says there's batteries on it, maybe they don't work and things like this. This is what I mean about the planning and stuff, the organisation that goes into Christmases. And then there was the Mega Drive years. When I got DJ Boy one year, I got Mercs the other year. I played DJ Boy. I had to play it in my parents' room because my TV had died. And I played it literally up to the point when it was like, well, we'd like to go to bed now, but I want to play DJ Boy. I can't play DJ Boy. And it's like, well, tough. We'll worry about getting you a TV when the shop's open or something, and worry about you getting one, meaning me. I'd have to pay for it. Rightly so. But before that, Master System, I remember I wanted a Master System. I found a second-hand one, and my mum let me, said, if you save up half of it, you can have it. And that was a fantastic Christmas. In fact, there was a pinch of jealousy from my brothers that year, because they had to still game on the Spectrum, and I was like, Dave, what are you doing? I'm off to my bedroom to play my Master System that I paid half for, so I don't have to let you have a go on it. Shut the door, I'll see you in the new year. I would obviously let them play it, but it's just, I have so many memories, and like I said, it's not, toys don't make a Christmas. Honestly, they are part of it, but they don't make a Christmas. I mean, as a kid, that is your main drive, I guess, for Christmas, for getting up and stuff like that. But as I said, if it wasn't for the organisation that would go around these things and planning, even the Christmas dinner and stuff like that, thawing out a turkey, 2 days before and stuff like that, and the mashing around cooking and food and stuff like that, toys don't make a Christmas. That all does. The smell of food, sitting around a table, pulling crackers, reading crap jokes and stuff like that. I love all of it. I absolutely love all of it. This has completely got away from me, as I knew it would when I just thought, I'll just talk about stuff I love. Yeah, and it got away from me. But, and I still, as I still love Christmas as an adult. Maybe others don't as much as me. And then for that, I honestly do consider myself blessed. So I just want to say, Happy Christmas, everyone. Happy Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy whatever it is you do at this time of year. And I hope it's special, wonderful. Spend it with your friends, your family, your loved ones. Just have a blast. Enjoy everything. And I would love to know your nostalgic memories of Christmas. I really would. And once again, thank you for another year of watching my channel and tuning in for the most unorganised Christmas message out there. I still argue it's better than the Queen's. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone, and happy Christmas, and have a wonderful new year.